Good evening and welcome to In Focus, your comprehensive look into the stories shaping our world today. Tonight we delve into two critical developing stories: the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles, which have left a trail of destruction and loss, and the latest US sanctions on Russian oil, a significant move aimed at curbing Moscow's war efforts in Ukraine. Stay with us as we unpack these stories with expert insights and analysis. Wildfires are a recurrent threat in California, but the Palisades fire in Los Angeles has quickly become one of the most catastrophic in the region's history. Burning since January the 7th, it has scorched over 21,000 acres, displaced thousands of residents, and claimed lives. With containment efforts facing severe challenges, questions arise about the effectiveness of response measures and the long-term lessons to be learned. A recent New York Times report highlights critical failures in firefighting efforts during the recent wildfires, focusing on the breakdown of water hydrants due to insufficient pressure. The aging infrastructure and overwhelming demand during the crisis significantly delayed response times and exacerbated the damage and the loss. This incident has sparked a broader investigation into the city's preparedness for climate-driven disasters, raising urgent questions about urban resilience and resource management. As LA addresses these failures, the case underscores the need for nationwide infrastructure upgrades to better withstand the growing challenges of a changing climate. Now, to provide deeper context and analysis of the situation, we are joined by Ahmed Maharam, who is a journalist and political analyst with a keen understanding of the community resilience and disaster response. Thank you for joining us here on the program. Based on the latest updates, how would you assess the effectiveness of the firefighting and the situation on the ground?
The situation in Los Angeles, California is very critical, and the authorities are expecting till upcoming Wednesday. There is a very high speed of the wind, and they are optimistically are not expecting something will be better than what they are facing. The main course is, this is not the first time, and I think also it will not going to be the last time that California, especially Los Angeles, used to face such a kind of dramatic accident. Usually the city and the authorities are expecting such a thing, and there is some authority say that we were expecting, but we were not ready to face it. Like they said, we cannot guarantee that we can control the whole thing. We succeed to control 10% of the situation. California and Los Angeles economy is very important to the American economy and to the world. It is equal to the economy of, or the outcome of Japan. 1918, it was the damage $13 billion. This time it is exceeding $100 billion. This city, or this California, per year 270 millions locally from different states in America are investing it, plus 20 millions are coming from overseas. What happened is exactly kind of disaster. They are trying to find a different reason apart from the global exchange. They realized that the budget of the fire department was less this year, or the government deducted $17 billion from the budget of.
Okay, and going into the, how they can change things perhaps in the future. Evacuation orders have affected over 180,000 people. Are there measures that the authorities could take to improve evacuation planning for the future?
I think the importance of the accident President Biden canceled his visit to Italy, Rome, and he announced that the federal government will take care of the expenses of this damage. One of the problems is the insurance company are facing very hard time to cover all this, and some of those companies are already ready to leave this city or the capital of California. Again, I think one of the other problem is the water storage and the water pumps were not in a good position to help the firefighter. I think 100% support from the federal government, as President Biden said. It could be a kind of assistance, but again, the tragedy of what's happening is something never happened before. It's really huge.
Let me just ask you about the insurance companies. Is it true that many insurance companies in that area of California refuse to insure based on fire?
Not only California because of the fire, but also Florida because there is a lot of flooding happening in Florida. The main very important and successful insurance company for the last few years, they faced a huge problem to cover this kind of settlement financially. So some of them are giving not 100% of the bill. They maybe give a short half of it, 3/4 of it. So there is main companies in insurance are coming out of the market. That's very critical, but it seems like it's true.
The psychological and economic toll of these disasters is immense. Are there strategies in place to help the communities rebuild?
Well, the economy of America is like $23 billion, $28 billion per year. So I think that amount of damage, considering it can be covered by all means. It may take some more time. It may get some other assistance from the federal government or from other cities and states. But within a short time, I think it will be recovered somehow.
And is there talk of climate change in America? I know it's a very hot topic or a very controversial topic in the United States. But do people where you are believe that climate change is playing a role in exacerbating these kind of wildfires in California? And you mentioned as well the floods in Florida.
I assume one of the main could be reasonable and good reasons because since 2016, the conference of such a climate change took place in Paris. We remember that the whole world are depending on the big countries to contribute on a budget to help the other countries, the poor countries in that. I think Trump withdrew from that, and this is a very critical time. Is Trump will continue to withdraw from this kind of agreement? I doubt much. I think maybe something else America and other big countries has to do.
Going back to these fires themselves, Mr. Muharrem, what are the biggest logistical challenges facing the firefighters on the ground?
Well, I think partly the wind, it will continue till Wednesday. Secondly, the supply of water is not enough. Thirdly, they are depending on National Guard and some other Air Force to assist. So the shortage of water, the speed of the wind, plus there is a shortage also of the number of manpower, the personality, they supposed to, to face such a tragedy. I think they are demanding on some support from manpower and personnel from other cities and states as well.
And in your opinion, how should federal and state governments balance immediate response efforts with the long-term preventative measures that need to be taken? Is it a federal issue or is this a state issue? I realize that on places like Fox News and Donald Trump himself criticizing the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Is this a state issue, a federal issue? Should the whole country be chipping in for this?
Actually, it could be both. It could be budget federal, it could be city and states. But again, this is not the right time that Democrat and Republican has to fight on such an issues. It's a big issue. All the countries, all the people are suffering from. And I think it will take a time and time frame very sensitive in this issue. I think something wrong with the administration, not only in Biden's and Trump, but usually for years, we heard from the media that there is so many millions and billions of dollars are going out of the country, going to support other countries, to support the war around water, around the world, to assist Israel in a matter to assist Ukraine in the Russian aggression with her. But again, there is big suffering from the infrastructure of the United States, bridges, tunnels, roads. I mean, there is other priorities. I think the upcoming administration has to give a priority to give a good hand to the insufficient infrastructure around the world, around the country.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Q News, Ahmed Muharrem, for shedding some light on this devastating issue in California. As Los Angeles battles this catastrophe, it's clear that collaboration, preparedness, and resilience are key to overcoming such challenges. Now, next up, we shift our focus to international issues and the Biden administration's new sanctions on Russian oil. In a bold move to cripple Russia's ability to fund its military operations in Ukraine, the Biden administration has announced sweeping new sanctions targeting the Russian oil sector. This latest effort, unveiled just days before Donald Trump's return to the presidency, raises questions about its impact on the war, global energy markets, and US-Russia relations. The Economic Times recently explored the implications of President Biden's latest sanctions on Russian oil trade, noting their potential to influence global energy markets. The report examines how these measures aim to adjust economic dynamics by focusing on key elements of Russian oil exports. The sanctions are expected to impact supply chains and global oil prices, prompting countries to reassess their energy strategies. As this policy unfolds, it highlights the complex interplay between international trade and economic measures, raising questions about its broader implications for global markets and energy stability. Now, to break this down for us, we're joined by Dr. Ashraf Singer, who is our world politics analyst. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Now, you're joining us usually from California, so I think probably I should start by asking you about the situation in California and what do you make of what's happening and the criticisms of some of the authorities?
Yeah, there is a huge critiques to Newsom that he didn't really fund $17 million, to fund the water supply where this area and this area, were affected severely by that huge fire. Actually, we didn't expect that fire be scaled or in that huge scale. And one of the major problems, of course, it's Santa Ana winds. It was really high speed, reached to 160 kilometers per hour, and was really huge. But there are another theory to give interpretation of the source of the fire, that Edison company, the electrical company in that area, or covering Southern California, some stories now, we're telling, okay, this is because of some of the problem of their cables was a source of the fire there. But still, that event or what happened under investigation by many authorities. But it seems to me like, the governor of California, under huge critiques from Donald Trump, the next president, and the local guys, they lost their homes. But it's really a huge strategic event for all the people over there in that area. Yeah,
Okay.
so basically that area is nearby to Los Angeles downtown, but my area is not affected at that area over there because the fire is not really in my area
Well,
till now. I hope it's not
well,
gonna
indeed, and it's good to see that things are looking fine where you are, Dr. Singer. Thank you very much for enlightening us on the situation on that. Moving on to the sanctions, then these sanctions target major Russian oil companies and also a shadow fleet of vessels. How significant are these measures? Do you think they might be successful in trying to undermine Russia's war economy?
No, at all. The reason that is what Biden, really said that efforts to, impose that sanctions on Russia oil company for, like restricted and sanctions to put, pressure on its economy. But we have to uh, remember, the audience that is, Russia is already uh, opened a new tracks with China to buy its oil. So basically, uh, potentially, or in that point, to potential limiting, its work capabilities over time. It seems to me it's not really working because of Russia really sold its oil to China and India, and these two uh, giant in terms of other potential buyers every time. So it seems to me like in terms of self-interest of United States, they need really to switch the European buyers to buy the U.S. oil or natural gas from United States, not really from Russia. But unfortunately, the small countries or the other countries like in Africa and Asia, they were and are paying that high price of that kind of challenge between the two giants, like Russia, United States. But it seems to me that that kind of policy will not affect Russia for a long term. Of course, affect its economy, but not really destroying its economy.
Okay. And these new sanctions have already caused a surge in crude oil prices. How might this affect global energy stability and also the markets, particularly in the US?
Oh, basically the energy market, that United States decide, to put like what we call the cap of a price in terms of the oil. This is just to control, the Russia revenue over time. That is, preventing Russia to sell its oil with high price. But that kind of policy already affected, the other guys like, the oil producers in the Middle East because, they have their own plans, for development. It seems to me now that kind of sanctions and that kind of capping but or increase that level of pressure on their economy or their revenues for over time. So it seems to me now United States need to really pay back or support, their alliances. They were really under that pressure of that capping of the price. It seems to me like for long term, that type of policy will gonna to make that market it's not stable, and I see that is any kind of policy now by United States will just serve it is serve it self interest in terms of increasing it is revenue, but United States now it seems to be doesn't care about the others alliances in either in Europe and the Middle East. The most important now United States needs really to improve its sales in oil and arms just to fund its budget or deficit, which reached now is about $36 trillion, and this is really huge compared to its economy, 27 trillion. So every year now, United States is facing a huge deficit. So I'm trying to think about the future of the policy that Donald Trump
Well,
gonna
well
apply.
let's bring the politics into this, Dr. Singer. I know we like the politics of these things. It's just days before Trump's inauguration, when Biden is bringing in these policies. It's thought that Trump is quite favorable towards Putin, but then again, his administration did put more sanctions on Russia than any other. What do you make of the timing of Biden's new sanctions?
Yeah, this is a good question. Biden, before to depart, the office, he was really, and he is really sincere, to hurt Russia severely. That Russia, Russia Putin, really did it challenge, the United States ego in terms of the, didn't really respect, or didn't really follow the United States foreign policy or the outcome of the foreign policy that us Putin didn't, don't, invade Ukraine, but Putin, violate that kind of channels or contacts, between Washington and Moscow. So it seems to me it's a personal fight, between Biden and Putin, but it's still. I'm sorry. The situation with Trump is different. Trump um, uh, believes that is Putin and Russia. He has a good communication with Putin. They can agree on many issues, and really Trump is really interested in fighting or containing or stopping China more than Russia. And actually, Trump probably is correct. You know why? Because the GDP of Russia is not really huge. It's about like 2.5 trillion. So it's not really a big challenger over time. So the best policy you need really to contain Russia, and you have to think about China because China is the most challengeable country for the United States, not Russia. So it seems to me like Trump will be accurate in terms of containing Russia rather than fighting Russia or challenging Russia, because Russia will not challenge the status quo over time. The China only going to challenge the status quo, but they need to contain Russia. Probably Russia will be part of EU, will be part of NATO, not now, but for long term, this is my perspective. Russia can be one of the EU, one of the European countries with respecting of its culture, heritage, ego, because it's a nuclear state and powerful. Russia had and has a nuclear arsenal, even compared to the number of the storage here in the United States of the nuclear arsenal in the United States. So Russia should be really contained, and they can really work with Russia perfectly. But one of the major threats for Trump, this is really a clear message for Denmark, for Canada, for Panama, for Mexico, for any countries of the Middle East. As long as these guys, come close to China, this is really a huge threat for Trump's perceptions and a huge threat to the United States, because the United States does need to work effectively to stop any countries, to move close to China, not to Russia. So I think new administration will be happy or not happy, will be okay if some countries, really develop its relations with Russia rather than China.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Singer, our world politics analyst here at Qnews. Thank you very much for joining us, and we send you our best wishes there in California for you and your fellow Californians. So, as the global stakes rise, the implications of these sanctions will be closely watched for the weeks to come here on Qnews. And that's all for our episode of In Focus today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates here on Qnews. Good night.